Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters by Anfield Index. It was a nice weekend, wasn't it? The youngsters were playing, it was a League Two opposition, everyone was happy. And now the stress begins because there's a massive game in just over 24 hours. There's even transfer talk going on as well. And here to join me, as ever, is the renowned and the respected Sky Sports superstar, David Lynch. David, how are we today?
Yeah, pretty good. Enjoyable one at the weekend. So, yeah, apart from the fact it was absolutely freezing cold, but yeah, it was a nice, relaxed one. So, really enjoyed that. And yeah, looking forward to I feel like this is a massive week as well. So, yeah, really enjoy these weeks.
It was a nice introduction to Accrington. And if you'd have picked an introduction to a massive Premier League game, it would probably be, with the greatest of respect to Accrington, who put up a brilliant showing, a League Two opposition at Anfield where you could play, a lot of the kids and rotate people. But it was just it was a nice performance, a nice game all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly the kind of draw that you would want to get, literally perfect, and then. And not a kind of non-league club as well, whereby it will be there'll be even more fuss around it. It was a really nice draw for Liverpool, and he made the most of it. Got the rotation in there, got some kids on the pitch, no new injuries, and a really comfortable 4-0 win. So it's just genuinely everything Arne Slot would have dreamed of when the draw was made, and they even get a kind of decent draw after that as well for the next round. So it just really kind of one of those where happy days, and it's kind of good as a journalist to go into these ones where it's not going to be massively in the balance. It's not going to be one of those games that goes to the death. So it was just an enjoyable day all round, and a lot to like about it from a Liverpool perspective.
Yeah, and as we review this, it's always important naturally to keep it in context, who we were playing, the occasion, and all those types of things. But there are a few specific I want to ask you about, and the Trent saga, because that went on. People were noticing when he came up. Does that mean Connor Bradley's first pick now? Has Trent been demoted? But just before we talk about Trent's performance, in case anyone missed it, Arne Slot did answer this in his press conference post-match.
I think it's a bit known for everyone how our flight was during that night. So we couldn't land here in Liverpool, so we had to go to Birmingham. We came home really, really late, and for me, it was too big of a risk to play a player that had a hamstring issue 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, 2 days after the Tottenham game. Yeah, and then the only other available fullback is Trent. And as a result of him playing, I think it was good for him to play again in our own stadium, to feel the reception. Is that how you say? Reception of the fans again. That was already fantastic when we played Tottenham. And that was also, again, I think, special for him today. And
I mean, it's a necessity that he plays more than anything, but he does play. And by the way, David, regardless of the occasion, regardless of the opposition, what a hit that is for that goal.
Yeah, I do not care what level opposition you're playing. No keeper would have saved that. It was just an unbelievable strike. No keeper would have got near it because it's right in the corner. Brilliant dip and swerve on it. It's a great goal, and I think really, as the manager kind of alludes to, they're really important for him as well. I just think, it is a statement that he doesn't play against Tottenham. It does kind of mean something because, he's the only one of any of the first teamers really who doesn't start that game, or, I think maybe him and Diaz kind of don't start it. And you think, I just think it kind of said something really that he wasn't involved, and it was almost kind of a let's get him out of the limelight, let's just give him a kind of moment away from it, and not there's so much focus on him at the moment, and there'll be judgment about his performance. And then he came on in the last half hour of that game, was really, really good, and then he comes into this Accrington Stanley game, and as you say, got to acknowledge the level of the opposition, but to score a goal like that and to look so happy, and his body language looked great. It was just really, really good for him. And I think I really hope that's kind of got his confidence back up. I think I wonder whether I'm certain him and the manager will have had talks about how it went against United and what he could do better. And, maybe some of that would have been body language based, and say, you saw some of the sprints he put in against Tottenham. I think that was a really kind of marked difference. Yeah. So really good to see that on the defensive side, the effort there. really good he comes into this and reminds everyone of how ridiculously good he is with the ball at his feet. And you just hope now that the key thing is for him to kind of take it forward and make sure that there can be no kind of question marks about the Real Madrid stuff and whether that's affecting him. And the way he keeps that kind of discussion out of people's mouths really is to just perform as well as he can. And so hopefully these last 2 games and that substitute appearance, then the start, and maybe big steps towards doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just play well against Forest and it stops being a discussion, doesn't it, realistically? And there was one Scouser with a brilliant hit. He wasn't the only Scouser on the score sheet, though. Jayden Danns. And we've just got to play this clip, people, because it may actually be the most Scouts post-match interview we've ever heard.
Danzy, Cop End love you. Yeah, I love them too. I mean, yeah, buzzing to get another goal. Obviously, I don't know what it is with that corner, but when I score, I don't know what I'm doing, so I just run over there and, yeah, buzzing to get a goal. It seems like 5 minutes ago you were stood here celebrating the end of last season and Wembley and everything else, but that's the life of a young footballer. Sometimes you have to suffer the injuries as well. 100%. I mean, it's been tough for me, 5 months out, missed pre-season, but keep my head in it, keep going. Obviously got a goal today, so delighted.
I mean, it's probably good to talk about Danns first, and we'll also ask about Rio Ungamoa, but it was only a cameo. He came on for Ungamoa as well, but he did a lot in that short period, Jayden Danns, didn't he?
Yeah, I absolutely love this player. Honestly, I'm just a massive, unapologetic fan of Jayden Danns. I really, really, really hope that there's a future for him at Liverpool. I think the thing is, it's so difficult to judge from just the youth team football that we see him in and these sort of occasional first team appearances where the level is. Only the coaches can kind of know that, and they'll see him in training about where he's up to and what kind of opportunity he's got to be a Liverpool first teamer. And that level, by the way, is ridiculously high. But just everything I've seen of him, I really like. I can't accurately judge that, and so I could be completely wrong. But everything I've seen of him, I really think there's something there that could be a kind of potential superstar for Liverpool, because he absolutely knows where the goal is. He knows how to sniff out goals, little poachers goals as well. He's really, really strong. He's big. He's not lightning quick, but he's not slow at all either. He can hit them off either foot. And he's just got a really good temperament and personality, which I think shines through in these in his interviews. He's really level-headed, so just loads to like about him. And I think, I just think when he came on, he just looked so lively. He was getting involved in the physical battle. He doesn't mind doing that at all. He can keep the ball and use it well. He wins. The goal starts with a pressing situation where he nicks it as well. So he's just really, really good footballer. And I think Slot made kind of clear, didn't he, in his post-match press conference, that maybe a loan's the move for him. Maybe he just needs to go and get football, and then we know where he's going to be up to, because he gets a chance to show maybe in the Championship what he's all about. And if he can get goals there, then you think, okay, let's see where this can go then. So I think that is probably the next move for him. But I really, really like him, and I'm just not surprised at all that he got a goal and that he was there to get that goal, because he knows where he needs to be and he knows how to finish situations like that off. So yeah, massive, massive fan. Really hope he makes it at Liverpool.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see what they do with him, so to speak, because a January loan makes sense. I know a lot of people are scrambling to say you should be part of the first team picture, and if he doesn't go on loan, you wouldn't mind seeing him get minutes. But yeah, a loan and regular football might just be ideal for him at this stage. And the other youngster who is not going anywhere, Rio Ungamoa. I mean, there's stardust in those boots, isn't there?
Yeah, I couldn't believe he started, to be honest. I mean, I've been a little bit wary about kind of some of the hype that's been around him since he signed, because I was a little bit worried that people were putting too much pressure on him and that we probably wouldn't see him anywhere near the first team for a while, not least because he hasn't even played for the 21s. So I thought, with all this talk, he might get a start. I thought probably no chance of that happening. And I even thought when he got on the bench against Southampton that it was just about where the injuries were, who they wanted to rest, and that he was just there to kind of make up the numbers. But clearly not, because I thought, he comes in for a start here and he was fantastic. Really good feet, really intelligent in his use of the ball, kept it really well. Some beautiful little turns out. He's just, he has got magic feet, as you say, and he looks a massive talent. So to be doing that at the age of 16, it's hugely encouraging. You can see, Chelsea were fuming that he got poached by Liverpool, and it's quite obvious why that was the case. He's just an absolutely brilliant young talent, really, and just excited to see even more of him now in the years that's come. I don't think we'll see loads of him now, over the remainder of this season. Maybe get the odd opportunity, but that's a really big step for him, and I think he absolutely grasped it. Didn't look phased in the slightest, and showed that he could be a really exciting player for Liverpool in the future. So yeah, well done to him, really, because a 16-year-old doing that, it takes some guts as well as quality, and he showed both.
Yeah, a massive day for the youth team. Trent Ione coming on as well and shining there. So it will be positive for the academy all round. And I mean, we're talking about forwards, and it's probably important to talk about three senior forwards because very different fortunes are across the metrics. I mean, Diogo Jota, captain. So let's just hear what he said post-match. He did talk about a few of his colleagues as well.
It's in a very long time. It's good to get this rhythm back and to build up for a very important second half of the season.
And you combine well for the goal.
Yeah. Obviously, we try to speak to each other. Like you said, there's not many times where we've been together at the same time on the pitch. So I think there was things to work on, but it was a good beginning.
Are they the goals you enjoy best as a striker? The tap-ins, just that bit of movement and.
I think everything about Diogo Jota's reaction tells you how much he enjoys a tap-in. That's what he makes his money on. And we kind of just expected Jota to score in this, David, didn't we? He almost took the armband for part. We just need Diogo Jota fit in simple terms, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just crucial, isn't he? I think said many times, really, that behind Mo Salah, he's the best goal getter at the club and goals win your matches, even in kind of scruffy situations, which he always seems to kind of sniff out is, just get the goal in an away game where you're not maybe playing the best, gets you ahead or he gets a winner late on. He's just a brilliant goal scorer. And so, yeah, it's been a bit of a tough road back for him, really, hasn't it? It's taken longer for him to get starts than I maybe expected after he got back to fitness. But that's the thing with the manager and kind of a policy he takes in terms of wanting people to be absolutely 100% fit. And I thought encouraging, actually, that the manager says that he is ready for 90 minutes now. He said that in his press conference this morning. Yeah. So that is really, really good news because he's a high quality player. So yeah, can't do him any harm to get that tap in. That he's always there to get those ones. And looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him now in the weeks ahead. Now that he is fit and he's ready to put those 90 minutes together. And let's hope as well, touch wood, that he doesn't get any further setbacks and nobody falls out of the sky onto him.
Yeah, indeed. 7 goals now for the season, a good ratio. It is just about fitness. And Chiesa, he got his first goal as well. I mean, we didn't see much of him. We were disappointed that he only got a half, but whenever he's on the pitch, despite the tiny sample size, something's happening, isn't it, David, with Chiesa? He causes problems for that opposition.
He gets shots, and Liverpool love that. You know that in recruitment of attackers that they will look for people who get shots. So, and he clearly does that. He's just, like you say, just always kind of constantly involved. He's always in those situations to get those shots. So. I just think that's hugely encouraging. And, the manager plays down his performance in the post-match press conference and said, look, it is Accrington, but we've seen nothing really from him, not or very, very little up to this point. So to get a full half where he was massively impressive, goes close to scoring about 4 times, hits the post, and then gets his finish with a really, really nice finish as well. Again, one of those, don't care what level of keeper you are, you're not saving it if it goes in off the post from there. So, I just think it's something to get excited about. And again, maybe it's League 2 opposition, but is he ready for a substitute appearance in the Premier League in a game where Liverpool need a bit of thrust down that right? Can you move Mo Salah inside? Can he give you another option? Maybe even come on in the centre. So, I liked his performance. And I like the fact, all those question marks after the Southampton game were about, does he like the physical scrap? Does he want to get involved in that? Because he maybe lost out in a couple of challenges. He looked much better in that regard here. And I know the opposition is a step down, but physically they're always there. League 2 defenders can rough you up. So he absolutely enjoyed that battle and seemed up for it. So, yeah, loads to like about it. It's just a big step forward for him now. And I really hope over the remainder of this season he can have an impact, because I think you can see there is something there. And he can get goals. He can be a threat.
Yeah, no doubts about it. As long as he's fit and we can get him on the pitch, ultimately, there does seem a player there. And the final one, it is important, I think, to talk about this because people will feel it's harsh, but it was League Two opposition. Yes, Darwin Núñez misses a great chance, and it's a good assist for Jota, so we'll give him credit for that. But it just seems now every week we're almost talking about Darwin Núñez, and there's almost an element of pain to it a little bit, isn't there?
Yeah, the thing is, it's kind of weird because I think some of Darwin Núñez's performances this season have been absolutely terrible, and we've spoken about that. But I actually don't think against Accrington he is that bad. I mean, I looked at the numbers today. He completes like 94% of his passes. He's been so sloppy in build-up in some games this season. Those are the ones where I've kind of hammered him. He's got shots away. I think he takes 5 shots. He creates the goal. He creates 2 chances. So his numbers from the game aren't that bad. And I didn't think he was getting kind of bullied or anything like that. But what he did do was kind of going back to the old Núñez in terms of missing some chances. And he had a couple of opportunities that he just had to put away, really. So it was kind of an old school Núñez performance in that his build-up stuff, it was getting better and you were seeing encouragement there, but he just couldn't finish. It's a problem, really, because his biggest issue is putting all that together, and the finishing's never going to be there, is it? But I didn't think all elements of his performance were the worst, and I have seen him play much worse this season, really. So, yeah, I think we've said so many times now, to be fair, that he is what he is. He isn't going to get better. He isn't going to be Liverpool's number 9. That is baked in. We've said that now. We're done with that debate. Although people still maybe want to tweet me about it. You're wrong. He isn't going to be a world-class player for Liverpool. But that's absolutely fine. He comes in against Accrington. He sets up a goal. Can he do the same against Plymouth? Maybe even get a goal of his own? Can he come off the bench and nick one in the Premier League? Can he come off the bench in a game Liverpool are winning and give Mo Salah 20 minutes or Jota 20 minutes rest? Yes, absolutely. And that's all Liverpool have to get out of him between now and the end of the season, when I expect that they will sell him. So, I don't want to get too down on Núñez. I think we know what he is now. And I'm kind of, I'm absolutely made my peace with it. And I think others should as well. The key is to just kind of, I think for supporters, get behind him and hope Liverpool can get a decent tune out of him over the remaining months of the season.
It's interesting because I know you said over the remaining months of the season. I know you will have seen it. There's been a lot of links to Saudi clubs, Al Hilal for Darwin Núñez, and a feeling that with him almost Chiesa coming in and possibly being Liverpool's 6th choice forward. Have you heard anything around these Saudi rumours at all? Because it was a natural thing that people are asking about.
Yeah, no, I've not personally heard anything. I'd be kind of surprised if Liverpool were to let him go in January as well without a replacement lined up, because I think, it's clear that they kind of need the 6 attackers. There are going to be injuries there. There's a lot of games to get through. Liverpool are, in theory, still on. I don't think they will win a quadruple. And I think the talk of that starts way too early, by the way. That it's ridiculous how early the talk of that starts these days. And they won't win one. But they are in all 4 competitions at the moment. So they've got a lot of games ahead of them. So you need, as much as Núñez in the summer, I expect to be sold. I don't think Liverpool would be in a rush to do it now, because it will give them a job to do in January that they don't probably want to do. And, they've got a squad that's finely tuned now. It's on its run. So, why mess with that now? That Saudi interest, I guess that the big question is if the player thinks that at this point in his career, that's the right move. I still think he's got something to offer for European teams in a weaker league than the Premier League. Absolutely. So I think that'd be a foolish move for him, but I don't expect either way, whether that's the way he goes or not, for that to happen in January. To be honest, I think that's one that Liverpool would prefer to put a pin in it till the summer.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and you kind of feel that if there is any business to be done in January, there has to be a departure. It's interesting to see if that will be Darwin Núñez or not. And one thing I did want to sort of loop back to, because you mentioned it this morning, he was slightly late for his press conference, but it was still an early job from Arne Slot to talk through Forest. I know you were there. There's been quite a few bits sort of come out of that. Was there anything that really stood out from you from the press conference? Any comments that Arne Slot made or anything he confirmed at all?
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting that there was a widespread panic about Ibrahima Konaté's fitness after he was in a league team to face Accrington Stanley, and then he wasn't, and then everyone took that he was injured or ill or whatever. So absolutely no mention of any issue with him. Only Núñez who's suspended, and Konaté, not Konaté. Sorry, I'm injuring him now. Sorry, it's Joe Gomez who will miss the game. Konaté, by all accounts, is fit and available. So not sure what all that kind of concern was about. So that kind of stood out to me. And I also like what he said about Wataru Endo, to be honest. I thought that was really interesting. The stuff about just how good a character he is, how impressed he's been by him, not just on the pitch, but off it. And I think Endo succeeded in what he wanted to do, really, in terms of he wanted to show to this manager and prove a point that he shouldn't have been sold in the summer, even though Liverpool were kind of willing to do that deal. And I think he's proved his point completely. So, fair play to him for doing that. I think that's incredibly impressive that he's managed to change the manager's mind on that. And he just couldn't praise him highly enough. So, again, another player who is going to be important over the remainder of this season and in games where helping Liverpool see them out and, maybe even at the weekend to do that or come in for cup games. He's just a brilliant option to have in the squad. And yeah, I really like to hear Arne Slot praising him because it's kind of a different situation to where that relationship was at over the summer.
Yeah, and he was man of the match, the official man of the match against Accrington. He's not let anyone down. And probably that dispels any issue or concern or belief that Endo might be departing in January. It seems he's going nowhere at all. And it is important, naturally, that we talk about January. And I know you know where I'm going to go with this. The big headline that nearly broke the internet, didn't it? It was the Ornstein bomb, backed up by Paul Joyce about, and I think the wording's important to discuss here, David. Liverpool could consider a move to sign Kavicha if he leaves Napoli in January. Now, naturally, there's a lot of suggestions, isn't there? Antonio Conte's come out and said, yeah, he's told us he wants to leave. Liverpool's interest, the monitoring, all those types of things. Maybe the easiest question to ask is, what have you heard on this so far?
Yeah, so I asked about when these kind of reports came out, and this suggestion was just kind of put to me that he's a player they've liked for a long time. There's possibility for movement in and around the attack over the next couple of windows. Therefore, spaces may open up, and they'll kind of look at the numbers and see where it's up to, and maybe it's something they could follow up on. It wasn't anything definitive. I mean, I spoke about it on my YouTube channel and kind of said this is maybe something they could go for. They do really like the player, but obviously it has to make sense for them. And at the moment, kind of PSG are making all the running, so we kind of have to see what comes of that. But definite interest in the player that there has been for a while. But in terms of whether that becomes anything, whether Liverpool want to kind of beat PSG to, and whether the player's kind of interested in that, we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. But it's still in play at the moment. PSG are pushing, aren't they? But until that deal's kind of done and absolutely sealed, then I wouldn't say either way whether Liverpool are going to go back in for it, because I still think there's a possibility.
Be interesting to see if anything develops with that. And the other forward, and it seems strange when we've talked about left backs, we've talked about midfielders, but I'm probably pronouncing this name wrong. I think it's Stefanos Simas, a striker at Nuremberg on loan for a Greek club. Sam Maguire sort of came out and said Liverpool are very much at the front of the queue for him in his exclusive. Heard anything around this player at all?
I've not been given massive encouragement that this is something Liverpool are going to do in January. I will say that. Maybe he's a player they're looking at, and I'm sure it sounds like there are few big clubs are kind of sniffing around, but for me, it doesn't really make sense as a Liverpool signing, particularly in this window as well. As I say, I've not been given encouragement by the sources I've spoken to, but also on top of that, profile-wise, Liverpool, for the number 9 position, if they are to replace, say, Núñez in the next couple of windows, I'm pretty sure they'll go for someone with a slightly higher profile, with a better kind of track record of scoring goals at a higher level than this.
Yeah, will be interested. Another one to keep an eye on. And I did want to ask you this. Does it seem a little bit strange that, almost as I put it, it's forwards galore being linked, but no left backs, no midfielders, probably more positions of interest? I know we hear the phrase opportunistic and market opportunities. Do you think it's because people are looking for encouragement naturally around left back or midfielders, but there's nothing really you're hearing around those positions at the moment?
No, particularly left back. I really do think I've been maintaining this line for a while, really, that I just kind of expect that to be something that waits until the summer. I know it's not really what people want to hear, but that's just is my expectation around it. So don't expect a left back to be brought in this window. Midfield is one of those, quite similar to the forwards, really. Maybe an opportunity will come up, maybe one where they think, okay, we can get this player in now, and then that will leave, maybe in the summer, then that's when Endo moves on. So we've got too many now, but in the summer it'll resolve itself. That is possible, but I haven't heard anything about a link or anything that's kind of made me think, yeah, something's happening here. So, wouldn't be shocked, absolutely stunned if Liverpool did nothing in this window. But equally, I wouldn't sit here on the 13th and say that they're not going to do anything, because I think that would be silly to say that as well.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if any more names or stories randomly break, and whether it's a forward. As per you, there does seem a lot of fans of Jadon Danns and wanting him to get an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Normally, we don't really, seems to be popular, no doubts about it. Normally, I know we don't really talk about contracts, but I just want to play you a little clip. This may be an interesting one, set in a nice little coffee shop, talking about Mo Salah.
Moving on to Mo Salah, there seems to be an annoyance that he keeps talking about his situation, but surely he's allowed to. I think he's made it so abundantly clear that he wants to stay at Liverpool, that he loves the club, that he's not considered anything else. And so the reason he keeps talking, this is a man who does not actually like to talk, is because he wants a resolution.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to leverage his relationship with fans, isn't he, to put pressure on the club. And I know it's putting certain people's noses out of joint and maybe not comfortable with that, maybe preferring to take a similar tack to Virgil van Dijk. But, I think it's just that he loves it. He loves Liverpool. He wants to be at Liverpool. And therefore, he feels that the best way of going about ensuring that happens is to pile pressure on through the media or through his social media posts. And I just don't think you can kind of begrudge him that. I mean, yes, I'm sure from a Liverpool fan perspective, maybe the Van Dijk approach is slightly better in terms of he keeps it quieter. He's not talking about it as much. I'm sure that would probably be the preference. But this guy is just an absolute phenom, and he has been since the day he walked in the door. And so,
I mean, interesting. It feels like I'm asking you, talking about you said about contracts. So I don't know if we're almost in a vortex now as we're asking this, but contracts wise, as we sit here now on Monday, the 13th of January, is there a little bit of a surprise for you that the latest updates is almost Trent silence, Van Dijk and Salah no further ahead? I mean, because I know it's not absolutely critical, but you can understand a lot of fans are just starting to get a bit nervous. We're not hearing much at all.
Yeah, I think if you'd asked me early in the season, I would have liked to have thought that maybe one of them at least would be done by now. So I'm a little bit surprised about that. But I mean, they go from this is the thing I think we kind of forget as well, is they go from not done to done so quickly. That progress happens rapidly. It can take one little breakthrough and then all of a sudden the players holding up the shirts and it's done. So I'm not overly worried about that or panicking or anything like that. I'm finding it hard to panic about these contract situations full stop, just because, I think this is an engrossing season and a really exciting one for Liverpool. And I don't think all the focus should be on the contracts really. And I just think, we've said so many times, it would make so little sense for Liverpool to let these players go on free transfers that I just can't see a world where it happens, not least because two of them have concretely said that they're desperate to stay, and the other one is a Scouser who the club really wants to keep hold of as well. So I'm just not that panicky about it yet. I know it's late, and I know, maybe these deals are going to get done so far down the line that it's surprising, but, two of them really, really want to stay. The other one, maybe there's a question if he's made his mind up or not, but still you would expect Liverpool could get it done. So I'm just not that shocked really, and I'm not that panicky about it yet. As I say, it will come out of the blue when it gets done. So and that could be any time. It could be next week. It could be the week after. It could be a couple of months down the line. But I'm still, until I'm given reason to think otherwise, I still retain a confidence that they will get done.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that. It would be nice if something broke anytime soon. And speaking of soon, it's the Forest game. I mean, this is absolutely massive. And if we look at their form at the moment, David, I mean, they've won 5 in a row, and they've only conceded 1 goal in those 5 games. This is going to be a massive game and massively tough, isn't it?
Yeah, really tricky. I get a little bit nervy around this game, if I'm honest, for Liverpool. I think because their form's been a little bit wobbly recently as well. You just think, you're not going into it with as much confidence maybe, but maybe that kind of sharpens minds for Liverpool as well, and they know just how tough this is going to be. So that might be helpful to them. But yeah, there's just no getting away from the fact that you're facing a hugely informed Forest side. The atmosphere is going to be crazy there because they hate Liverpool as it is. But a chance to kind of bloody their nose and maybe put themselves in a title race, which who would have thought they'd be saying that. I didn't tip for relegation. I must confess early in the season. So yeah, there you go. It shows out it's just such a big one. But for Liverpool, I think it's an opportunity. This could be the Leicester 2019 kind of, or 2020 was it at the time. It's a huge game, this, where Liverpool can. Oh, it was 2019, wasn't it? Because it was Boxing Day. This is where Liverpool can put in a statement performance. I think Leicester was second going into that game. People forget, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is a really tough one for Liverpool," and they went there and just put on an absolute masterclass. So, if Liverpool do something similar to that against Nottingham Forest, I just don't think there'll be any doubt left that they're going to go and win the Premier League. But it's extremely difficult. They are in incredible form. They're a very, very good team. And they play a sort of football that is so, set up really to bloody the nose of a big club, to, that deep lying, deep block that can frustrate you, and then so much quality and pace on the counter. So just no getting away from the fact it's going to be really, really difficult. But like I say, that makes it even more important if Liverpool do win. I think it has bigger, wider ramifications than just the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 points would be big, but it just feels like it would break the spirit of a lot of competitors, so to speak, as well. And team-wise, are you feeling that because of what we saw against, it's quite easy to pick 90% of this lineup?
Yeah, you would think so. I think we've got a really kind of settled first team, really, haven't you? I think it's obvious that, Robertson comes back in at left back. Obviously, the rest of the back 5 kind of picks itself. Central midfield, Szoboszlai's ready now. I think I think Liverpool have missed his legs a little bit in recent games. I think in an away game like this, where you're trying to stop counters, he will be absolutely massive. And then that front line, as you say, with Jota, the manager said he's ready to play 90 if he wants him. I think that's a big pick, actually. I think the attack is the one where I'm kind of like, does he just go with that Diaz up front, which he really seems to like, or is Jota ready? And you put Diaz in on that left-hand side, all the graft and the work that you get from him, because that's your 2 best pressers, arguably, out of any of the forward line, is to have Jota and Diaz in there as pressing on that kind of left and up front, and then obviously Mo gets to cheat a little bit, but that's probably your best pressing front 3. So it'd be interesting to see what he does there. I don't know if I could pick that one, really. I'm really fascinated to see what he goes with, but I think the rest of the team pretty much picks itself.
Yeah, it's tough because Jota's played the full 90 minutes, but Forest do not give up many chances. And if there is the one chance that maybe drops to someone, it sounds harsh, but you'd drop to Jota over Diaz realistically as well. So, yeah, that probably will be the one position we'll have to see. And we finish as ever with wider football bits. I mean, there's a couple of things happening in the football world outside of the transfer window. Everton, Sean Dyche is gone. Surprised at all, or kind of expected it with a new ownership coming in?
Yeah, not totally stunned, because obviously Everton's position is not great. They're in this new era, but I did kind of think that he would wait till the end of the season. And you read some of the reporting, it sounds like they were willing to do that as well, actually. And Dyche kind of forced a hand with saying that he's, doesn't feel he can take the team forward anymore, and they felt that they needed a change there. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, as I say, I think it was always going to happen at the end of the season. They were going to get their own man. Although when they were going to do that, I would not necessarily have picked David Moyes as the man that they went for. I maybe thought they would go for a more kind of. I think Moyes is brilliant, by the way, but I think maybe a kind of more of a modern coach, a younger coach. But they've obviously gone down that route and the sentimental route. And I don't really know what that kind of means for the rescheduled derby. We'll have to see. That's an interesting one. Does that make it harder? Does it make it easier? I'm not so sure. I don't think Moyes' record against Liverpool was particularly great, but you can only play that game on its merits when it finally comes around. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Interesting to see if that gives them a little bounce now and if they can get up the table, because I don't think they'll get dragged into it anyway. There's too much kind of dross below them, to be honest. But yeah, they'll be hoping that Moyes can inspire a bit of a turnaround.
Will be interesting to see what happens around Stanley Park. And then if you look at the league, I mean, they're 6 points behind us. We have a game in hand. We're playing Nottingham Forest beforehand. Arsenal get another injury. I mean, on top of Saka, Wanyeri, Jesus is stretched off there now as well. Does it? I know you've never been fully confident or believing that Arsenal are really challengers who can sort of go late in this race. But if they don't bring anyone in as an attacker now, there surely is practically no chance for them.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see it. I think the only way they can kind of salvage the season is if they sign a centre forward or a winger of some sort who hits the ground running and scores a lot of goals between now and the end of the season. And I'm not seeing any links or any suggestion that they're going to do that. So yeah, I just think as much as Arsenal have got other problems really in terms of how they're set up and issues they're having, but injuries is possibly the main one. And I just don't see how there's enough goals in that team and that setup to get them over the line, really, or certainly chase down Liverpool. Even if Liverpool have a bad result this weekend, it's very difficult to see, I think. So, yeah, I just can't see how they will challenge for the league outside of, as I say, signing a world-class forward, and I don't get the sense that they're going to do that.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult to see. And as much as we're asking about wider football, the final question I did want to ask you is, there's 2 tough away games coming up now, Forest and then Brentford. Points-wise, because a lot of people are speculating about that, is a 4-point return from those 2 a good return overall?
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. I think they are really tough games. I don't think it's going to be a 90-plus point season to win the league, so I'm not too concerned about 4 points in a week like that. Absolutely 2 tough away games. So, yeah, I wouldn't be concerned, and I think that was a good return. But obviously, if they got 6, I think everybody else who thinks that they're in the title race will just be... Yeah. They'll know that it's over if Liverpool gets 6 this week. So I'd really love to see them do that, but I also acknowledge it's extremely tough. So, yeah, let's see how they go.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It does feel like it's going to be a pivotal week. Whatever happens, let's hope we come out on the right side of it. So there we are, ladies and gents. At the end, all it leaves me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the insight, and for coming to a smaller TV station with us. It is much appreciated.
No problem.
Ladies and gents, that was another Media Matters Anfield Index.